Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the North East Non-League Show, episode 57, which is our Gateshead FC special, sponsored by DJ Private Hire, Gateway Accountancy Services Limited, Elite Goalkeeper Academy, and Motive 8. Join us tonight. We have two big Gateshead fans, Dan and Emilio. Thank you very lads for coming back on again.
Pleasure.
I know we had a little chat before the season started, expectation. I think it's about that level that we chatted, and I was watching back earlier today, and I think the predictions was a little bit lower than the playoffs, what we said before the season started, so I think you'd be happy with that. But like I say, a lot of news breaking today and lots to chat about. But yeah, like you say, we're going to be going over the season and getting onto your thoughts going into the rest of the season as well. And start with yourself, Dan. I mean, the big news a couple of months ago, obviously, Williamson leaving to join MK Dons. And I think we've got to kind of put it out there, every time there was a job coming up higher than Gateshead, League One, League Two, he was getting linked with a lot of jobs. And it was just kind of almost as a matter of time before he was going to leave Gateshead for a higher job, wasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately it was. I mean, I think he was just maybe kind of waiting for the right job to come up. But I think, to be fair to him, I also think he was just trying to make sure that maybe the club was in a good enough place for if and when he did leave, and whoever came in next could sort of carry on hard work. And I think we've maybe seen that with Rob Elliott so far. I don't think there's been a massive amount changed in terms of the style of play, like the overall approach. What have you? I mean, yeah, there might be one or two differences, but I think sort of. I think what in terms of form, what I've heard, I don't think like a great deal has changed, but obviously seems to have hit a bit of a glitch in the matrix this week in terms of obviously a bad result on Monday, the players getting injured left, right and centre, players leaving left, right and centre. So just fingers crossed, there's hopefully a little bit of good news at least on the way, hopefully over the next couple of days or so.
No, fingers crossed. And really with the appointment of Rob Elliott, and I think obviously because the players were so used to the way they're playing under Williamson, it was quite a clever move by the club to say, right, we're going to stick with Elliott. He knows the way we play and he knows the group of players. I mean, what was your kind of reaction when he got appointed manager, or were you expecting someone else to come in with new ideas? I mean, what was your thoughts at that time?
Like pretty reasonably happy with it. Like my biggest worry when Willow left was because the style of play requires so much, like preparation and time spent learning it to be able to do it properly. Just desperately hoping Sammy Hen's like not getting somebody whose style and approach is completely different, is because it'll essentially,
exactly
what it would feel like would undo all of the prior, progress made. And it's not perfect, like no style ever is. Like there's not like some automatic rule that just means we win every game just because we're really good at passing the ball, backwards and forwards and side to side. But I thought it was important to maintain that because it's responsible for so much success in recent years, the uptick in attendances because of how entertaining it is to watch when it does go well. So we're fighting Rob and then having Colin Louis like taking over slightly more senior coaching duties in the work previously as well was honestly probably just the best idea. And if it was me, I'd probably just stick with that for the rest of the season and onwards pretty much because, compared to say Mike myself, like Rob's, pretty inexperienced when it comes to being a manager, but so was Mike when he started, but they all learned from each other being at the club at the same time, one after the other. So the best way, maintain the current style that and like identity the team has, to me still is just to keep going with that.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there because like you say, the way that they play and what I've seen them play as well, like to keep the ball on the ground, passing the ball around. You get a manager coming in with a long ball with them type of players, it's not going to work. So I think it was a clever move by the club, that one. And Dan, before the 6-0 win against Dortmund, obviously 3 games, a draw and 2 losses. Were you worried for Elliott early days?
Not particularly, because I think obviously his first game was away to Rochdale, 2-0 down at half time, but still creating chances. Then obviously managed to pull it back, got a 2-2 draw at the game. And if anything, I reckon if that game had gone on a few minutes longer, I reckon we could well have even nabbed a 3-2 winner. Fylde was probably the weirdest game I've seen all season, really, because obviously they won 4-0. Fair enough, they took the chances, we didn't, but we had enough chances in that game to win 2 games, really. So I think that was like, obviously you'd look at Fylde near the bottom of the league, just come up and absolutely scudded us, but really it was I think just a case of it's just one of those days where nothing was going in, and we just got towards the end we just got absolutely sucker punched. Obviously, I mean, I know our starts of the game didn't help either. Then obviously Yeovil in the FA Cup, obviously Yeovil were beating absolutely everyone at that time, so that was always going to be a tough game. I mean, granted, we didn't play particularly well, but I think that was maybe when I think of it now, like that could have maybe be seen as a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I think obviously Rob was coming out after that game, and I think it struck everyone really. They were saying, "Oh, we're going to make sure we refund everyone for that," and I think almost everyone said, "No, just put in a decent-ish performance next week, and we'll have that." And then obviously lo and behold, went and put six past Dorking, and then obviously beat Barnet a week later, which was, we think we were the first team to win that this season. So it was. I always felt that the win was going to come, but I think like with anything, it was always going to be a huge transition. Like no matter how you sort of try and say it or try to make it as seamless as possible, it was always going to take maybe a couple of games so just for people to adapt to.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I mean, with yourself, Emilio, obviously after the Dortmund win, the 2-0 against Barnet, the 2-1 against Solihull, and the wins kept coming. And like you see, around them fans, it's always the same when a manager goes. Some people have different ideas. Some people want a new face coming in. But after the few wins in a row, could you feel, if you're around the Gateshead fans, if you even the doubters possibly who were there, can you kind of sit with them, kind of thinking, yeah, he has got what he can do now to push Gateshead forward, and even doubting the people that were kind of saying, is he the right man for the job? Can you see them turn around at that point as well?
Yeah, pretty much, because like with you said, with all those wins coming, one after the other so close together, despite the patchy form when he first started, it's essentially the proof is in the pudding. Not just because one figurehead has left doesn't mean all the good work that they did and the players put in and so on is immediately undone. As long as someone's able to maintain that, cultivate it, and continue it, there's no reason why there can't be more positive trends. Like even now over the last two games, only getting that 1 point against York instead of maximum, which I'd hoped for. Like the first one, it was frustrating because teams have wised up a little bit because, they know the style that they play. And the simplest way to counter a team who, keep the ball, keep possession is to just try and pile everybody inside your own box for as long as you can and hope you catch them out. In equal measure, it's not like to say that the simple solution to that is for us to suddenly adopt the same approach of, okay, we'll just sit on the edge of a box and wait now. Because football's not black and white, and that's not quite how football's played. And it was probably even more frustrating, obviously, last game when we lost to them. So I thought, especially by our usual standards, we played quite poorly. And even with that being said, we had enough chances to score at least 3 goals. Obviously, we didn't. So it doesn't magically change the result. But to be so off our level while still playing, that same style, get beat by 2, but still have enough opportunities to have at least gotten something from the game is a testament to how high the bar is, set just by ourselves, the standards that we usually hold ourselves to. And likewise, it's not every single game, but when we do pull it off perfectly, it pays dividends. So just one from that, I think it's still just, always worthy trying to continue it. And I always say that the best results have came when, we pulled it off perfectly and not compromised. Pretty much there is points during a game, where people might get a little bit frustrated, or the players might, or sometimes you'll hear from the crowd, people starting to go off it because somebody's taking too long to, make a decision to pass the ball, or isn't, just trying to get it forward as quickly as possible if that entails lumping it, super far. But one of the hardest things to have, at least with this style play in particular, is just patience. Because, everybody's patience runs out eventually, but patience is the most important aspect in maintaining the style of play and just keep it going. Because if you let frustration seep in and start to change it just because you think it's been 60 minutes, we haven't scored a goal yet, that's where you can start to essentially undo yourself. Because the more you compromise on it, particularly we've seen a few points of teams where there would be some spells in games and so on where we would just start lumping it forwards high in the air as if almost automatically, as if people were starting to doubt themselves. And it plays in a lot of teams in non-league, especially in the National League, just strengths of, okay, ball in the air, easy peasy, head it away. And that's something last spell in this league before it went down and came back up again. That was something I noticed quite a lot. It was very painful for the team to watch us just play hoofball to like one striker up front. Like when in Danny Johnson's tenure here, the amount of goals he scored is a testament to how good he was, because so many games were just long ball to, a little striker underneath 6 foot who's got just big giant defenders just eating it up over and over and over again. So essentially, like, we just have to keep the style going, not compromise on it, even when it feels like, we're on a bad run, or we've lost a few results, or we lost that game and we didn't win it. You've just got to have belief in yourself that it will come good again. If everyone's, putting the work in, putting the effort in to maintain it and keep it going.
No, definitely. And stay with yourself, Emilio. I mean, as we speak now, 25 games in, sitting 5th on 40 points. You must be happy with the season so far, with how it's all going.
Yeah, pretty swimmingly overall still. Like, obviously, current circumstances this week are painful just because everybody's dropping like flies. I know being snatched away from it, but that would happen regardless, of where someone is in the table. But I mean, I think if you asked like anybody before this season started, especially following on the way last season ended with such good form, it's like, well, would you take being 5th after 25 games? You're like, yep, that'll do me. We're only halfway. There's still half a season left. So even then, I still wouldn't like read too much into the table, really, regardless of it being the halfway point, because there's loads of games left to play. It doesn't really matter where you are in it until you've played all of them. But I still think overall, there's some games where I think, oh, we should have won that, or we should have done better, and so on. But still, it's a pretty good spot to be in. Like if we're just maintain form, essentially, didn't dip too much or didn't improve loads, just being around this spot by the end of it, still, a success. And more importantly, it's significant progress from the season before, and so on. So the more I keep going, the more I keep building on it, the better your chances are of achieving your aims from year to year to year.
Yeah, and yourself, Dan, happy with the results so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard not to be, really. I think, obviously, if I think at the start of the season, I think I'll put us maybe like 10th, 11th, something like that. And I think that, like, at the start of the season, I think we all would have maybe realistically taken that. But, it's been, it's maybe exceeded expectations at times, really. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously now, where we are. Like, obviously, we're in a good position now. We'll just have to wait and see where we are come the end. But obviously, a lot of that's going to depend on like when players like gradually start coming back from injury, which hopefully won't be too long. Who else we can maybe bring in? It has been a good season. There's no getting away from it. And obviously, at times we've maybe come away feeling as though we maybe should have done better in terms of results. But as I said, the table doesn't lie. In the 5th place, I think 40 points, something like that. So you can't complain. And to say we're on pretty much one of the lowest budgets in the league. I think what do we need? Only a few more wins, and that's like that is survival pretty much ensured, and it's just about that bit extra from there.
No, it's 100%. Like you say, if you chop these games down now, which I imagine Elliot will be, kind of right, we'll look after another 5 games, we'll have a look after another 5 games, and if you're still up in their positions come the end of the season, you've got half a chance of getting into them playoffs or staying in them, and it's anyone's game in the playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the thing with the playoffs is I found in almost every league, it's almost not really that much of a relevance where you actually finish. I think a lot of the time it is down to who's carrying the most form going into them. I think the best example I can think of was when we obviously won the National League North title, and so we had Brackley with us all season. Brackley's form sort of took a turn for the worse towards the end, and I think it really affected them in the playoffs when they had, I think York came in pretty strongly. I think Boston did as well, and obviously that ended up being the playoff final. And that was like 5th versus 7th. So yeah, it really. But that's the thing with the playoffs. Like, there's no guarantees at all. Like, you respect, like, just because you finish second during a title race doesn't mean you're gonna come good in the playoffs.
Oh, that's it, isn't it? Before we get into some talking points over the last few weeks as well, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's watching. What's your thoughts on Gateshead this season? Where we're going to finish at the end of the season, get them in the comments as well. And getting on to some talking points that has came up, and starting with yourself, Emilio, and Carl Magny announced the retirement on the 28th of November. as a player due to an injury in training. But like you say, it's still not help the coaching. And I mean, we know Carl, and he puts his heart and sleeve into everything that he does, and he's a great player and a great servant at Gateshead. I mean, just a few words on Carl.
It's a shame to see him have to, just retire generally, especially during the season, where obviously there's points where can still be named on the team sheet, still named on the bench, still play an active role to learn. Just have to accept it and do a complete 180 and be like, yep, that's his, done and dusted. But I mean, across both of his spells, it's been Aaron. He's given me plenty of good memories and significant contributions to some of the best memories that we've had, pretty much in across the last decade. And so, he was part in the original Wembley team the first time we got there, and the second time around as well. He's scored a few very important goals, or at least high quality ones. There was one that against Chester years ago from 40 yards, which is still one of the greatest hits I've ever seen, that he just felt like hitting really early in the game. Or the header at Chorley away, live long in my memory to have with Tyler Game up there. And I mean, even when he's not been playing this season earlier before the retirement was announced, you can always hear him red stitching out tactical instructions, motivational instructions, yapping at linesmen, referees, fourth officials, other teams' dugouts, or across the bench. So the care that he puts at the team and the effort and commitment there, it's evident whether he's on the pitch or not, and it's still to our benefit just to still have him around as part of the coaching team now and help instill the same mentality and belief in all the other players who haven't been here as long and so on. Of, what it means to be around playing for Gateshead and part of the team, but also what they can take from it themselves as well, put in the same effort and commitment that he has.
Yeah, no, I think they'll do a great job in the coaching staff. And Dan, obviously January is here now, and lots of fans worried Williamson might be coming back in, looking for obviously a few Gateshead players. I know a lot of rumours have started on social media as well. Do you think any players that possibly might go to MK Dons, and is there any players that you're worried about might be leaving?
I think the main one's obviously Stephen Wern. I think that's sort of the main. I think that's sort of where the main concern sort of lies in terms of who might come in for. I mean, don't get me wrong, Wern's been absolutely brilliant and he's an absolute pleasure to watch. So I wouldn't begrudge him of getting back into the Football League, because obviously I think that's, based on his ability, that's where he deserves to be. I mean, obviously I prefer it if that was with us next season on the back of getting promoted, but unfortunately, we're in football, unless you're Real Madrid, Man City, Bayern Munich, there's always a bigger fish, unfortunately. So I think that's kind of the main one. I think obviously the other ones would have been obviously Greg Ollie, Ed Francis, obviously Tinks, but obviously them three are all unfortunately injured at the moment. So I think obviously based on that, that's maybe why those three will probably stay on until the end of the season. But I think one player that I would really like to see us keep hold of, and I think's been really pretty instrumental at the moment, has been Callum Whelan. I think he's always I've sort of, after each game, I always read through sort of various comments that neutrals or opposition fans that have been at a game have made, and there's been a lot of praise for him of late. So I think it is essential that we do keep a hold of him for as long as we possibly can.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one name, Amira, that we had a show last night, and I know we had obviously Darlow, Blythe, South Shields fans on, and they all said they couldn't believe that Rutledge they didn't get a bid in for Rutledge before he went to Scarborough. And obviously, loan has been extended there. He's scoring goals for fun. Do you think at some point Elliot says, right, we've got to chuck him in now, give him a chance at Gateshead? I mean, what's your thoughts on the Rutledge situation?
Yeah, well, I'm spoiling the camp now, given the way just the squad is and the injury sustain. It's please, somebody press the recall button. Sorry, Scarborough, but he's coming back. I've pressed it already. But he was getting, a few minutes here and there at the start of the season and so on, but all, mostly off the bench. And experience is experience, but it makes, it's a lot more beneficial to someone to play a full game than it is to play 10 minutes at a time once a week. And likewise, he did, excellent at Berkeley before leaving. And it's a big leap going up 4 divisions in one go. And it's, it would be unfair to put the expectation on everyone's okay, Rutledge, from the start of the year, you're going to start every game now and you better score goals. It's because that's, removing so much context and nuance from the situation. But the fact is, gone on to Scarborough, 1 division below this one, but still multiple higher than where he was last season and is still doing really well. is a testament to, how good his ability is. And it's like, even from the short spell he has had playing his minutes at like the international status one, you can tell just by the way he moves the ball, technically he's dribbling and he's all around player. It's like he's good. You can look at him, you can watch him play for 10 minutes, right? Yep, he's good. Some things take time in football. Nothing's instantaneous. It doesn't just happen at the drop of a hat. Like, I'd like to see him brought back just pretty soonish. At this point, I feel like it would almost like benefit Denanga as well, just to have a spell out of the team for a few weeks because he hasn't scored in the league since September. And obviously, there was a penalty against York, which, well, just didn't go in. Not exactly ideal. So I think we'd have to just take the pressure off him because he's already obviously to already be in double figures when you haven't scored for 3 months is quite an achievement. But on that same basis, because he hasn't scored in the league in so long, but still haven't played every game because there's not really anybody else. When someone's down in the dumps, it takes a lot of effort and work to help bring them back out of that slump. And if you're getting pelters game after game after game, it's much more difficult to pull yourself out of it. So I think it would benefit him just to have like a week or two, even if he's just on the bench, whether he's like brought out as a sub or not, just out of the spotlight. Cool down, reflect, take some time out, come back, improve, hit his old heights again. And then obviously in that scenario, you could bring Rutledge back and then give him his chance and his starts that he wasn't getting earlier in the season because everyone else was in such good form. He just made the step up. But like, it could be good for the confidence essentially if both players, because Dan gets his break, can rest easy, come back in. And likewise, Rutledge, he's made his 4 division lead, coming out to Scarborough, still played well there, higher than he can before. So he'll have, hopefully that self-belief and say, yeah, I can go in the National League and score the same goals as well.
Yeah, I think with it, the way that you're looking at now, he's got another month there. He goes on, scores more goals. You take another 5 or 6 games off Gateshead on the list, and you kind of think, right, if we're still in them playoffs or around them playoffs come the end of the season, if you've got a striker come back with confidence, going up to score more goals for Gateshead, you never know, he could be that star that if they do get in the playoffs, he could score actually the goals to take him up the division. And that could fall like that, couldn't it? It'd be magic if it would happen like that.
So everyone just like, any goals a goal, and I never really cared too much who actually scores them as long as it crosses the line. But it was similar with Paul Blackett's timing, because Paul Blackett was around for quite a few years. When he first joined, you could say, the flashes of brilliance, like, there's enough player there, but it still took him, multiple seasons worth of playing, whether it was for us or other teams, to really hit the levels that he could. And I just thought it was a shame, like when he left, that we hadn't kept him around, because even that year he was in good form. He'd scored, important goals for us, lots of goals for us, and that took him time to get going. But once he did, he was, a very worthy player to have around. It was worth, the time spent that it took him to help get him up to that level. And I think it's a similar situation here, but 50-odd goals, playing for Berkeley, whatever division you're in, it means you can score goals. And it's a principle. I remember that sounds like an oversimplification, but you don't suddenly forget just because you start playing in a harder league. It's like, it might be hard to score them, but the same thought process is the same skills are still there. It's about honing them from division to division each time you make a step up. And I feel like it's inevitability that he comes back this season from Scarborough while there's still time left to play. Comes in and hopefully it does well. So I think it's just a case of it's a matter of time. And then when he does, we'll be able to reap the rewards as such.
No, I think he will. I think it'll make a huge difference. Comes back, and Dan, like you say, with the window now open, what do you think? Looking at that side now needs strength. I know today, obviously, Lofthouse, Chadwick both being recalled, Forbes gone, Francis out injured now, and kind of what would you need strengthening them positions now moving forward?
I think like the forward line is obviously the glaring one, because obviously Denanga's not, as we just touched upon there, his low on confidence at the minute. He's not scored a league goal in quite a while. So I just think if we can maybe just get someone's helping him out. Truthfully, I don't think him and Chadwick really work well together when they were on the pitch at the same time. That's just one of those things. It can happen. But you know what? Obviously, there is a lot of rumours about Wernan's going to MK Dons, what have you. But at this moment in time, they are just rumours. So I might be sounding a little bit delusional here, but if there's nothing in it and he does stay until the end of the season, that's obviously going to be a massive help. Obviously, he's obviously out with an injury at this moment in time, but I think if we can get someone else to sort of be up front to give us more options more than anything, I'd say. I think as well, obviously with Ed Francis out, Greg Ollie out for quite a time. I think midfield's another area that we need to be looking at. And obviously, you've got Regan Booty there, you've got Callum Whelan. But I don't think there'd be any harm in maybe, obviously, once Conor Panny's finished his loan at Workington, maybe even bringing back Larakasani. Because obviously, I watched Shields back in November at Spennymoor, and he was really good that night. I was chatting to a Moors fan after the game. He said he thought he absolutely ran the show. So I don't think there'd be any harm in there. I just think at this moment in time, because of how thin the squad is, obviously based on loan players going back, players going through injuries. I just think at this moment in time, it's just important that we just make sure that we do everything we can to make sure we have got the numbers. Yeah. The numbers. If more than anything, I mean, don't get me wrong. I trust the. If Archie Mary's to leave, as has been rumoured, I've got complete faith in Harrison Bond based on what I've seen from him so far. I think defensively, obviously, hopefully Tinks will be back before the end of the season, which should solve the right wing back role. But then again, we've got Jordan Hunter there who can play in that position. I think maybe a left wing back's maybe something that we could look into. Maybe try out Luke Hannon, maybe in a little bit more of an advanced role, maybe, because don't get me wrong, I think Hannon's done well in that position, but I think if Stephen Wern's going to be out, then I think Hannon is probably the next best thing in terms of creativity down left hand side for us. So maybe get left wing back in, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. And finally, for both lads to have a look at the season going ahead. I mean, staying with yourself, Dan, 21 games left. What do you think now should be the main aims for the club and for the rest of the season going forward on the pitch?
It's tricky to say at this moment in time, because obviously I know we're in the playoffs at the minute, but it is important to not get ahead of ourselves. So it's still a long way to go. Some very tough games. I say hopefully this situation with the squad thinning will sort itself out. I'm sure. I'm pretty sure that Rob Elliott, Carl Magnay, Lewis, they're not idiots. They will have planned for this, and they'll have something in mind, and hopefully that can come off. So I'd like to think coming the end of the season we'll be there or thereabouts, and obviously as well we're in the FA Trophy. I'd like to think we can get past Western-super-Mare in the next round. So why not have another go at that as well? Yeah,
it's looking good. And yourself, Millie, where do you think, looking at the end of the season now, just want to be still in them playoffs and just pushing on and staying up there as much as you can now, isn't it, I think?
Pretty similar again from seasons past. It's always a big thing, whether someone's in the playoffs or on the cusp of on the outside. Almost from game to game, constantly just looking at the table, and it almost becomes a distraction of sorts. And like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter where you are in the table until you've played every single match. So not quite forget about it entirely, but just stop worrying about it. Just one game at a time. Regardless of the quality of teams in the league, it's everybody's in the same division for a reason. So therefore, every single game you've got to take the approach is just win. That's obviously totally just. It's very simple to say just win. When everybody's together in the same league, regardless of whether they're at the top or the bottom, it's always at least somewhat of a close contest overall. So just don't worry about the table too much. It's likewise, if the FA Trophy, the same approach. I don't think, we're in this round or in this round or in this round. Just, especially in the nature of knockoff, just win your game. That's all you should be focused on. One match at a time, just win it. Regardless of who you play or who you think, we might be playing so and so in a few weeks, we should get X, Y, Z points from that. Because that's just hypotheticals on paper. Literally, you can only beat who's in front of you. Just take the approach one game at a time. Focus on that. Get rid of distractions. Keep going. Do your best, and worry about where you finished. In the cup and the trophy once they come to an end, and that's what matters most.
No, 100%. But no, lads, thank you very much for coming on the show. Like you say, hopefully over the next few weeks, stay up there, and hopefully come the end of the season, see them in the playoffs, and it'd be nice to see them hopefully get another chance to get back into hopefully into the Football League, which would be amazing to see. As well. But lads, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
No problem. Cheers.
So it's another 2 shows coming up next week. Next Wednesday, we have the Carlisle City manager, Jim Nichols, coming on to talk about a great season so far for Carlisle City. And on Thursday night as well, we've got the Whitby Town manager, Nathan Haslam, coming on again. Another great season down at Whitby as well. And Thomas Oracle just saying there, great episode, lads. Yeah, 2 great guests coming on. I really appreciate them as always. But I hope everyone that's been watching has had a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Get across the Dan's channel as well and get that subscribed as well. And like I say, thank you so much for keep supporting the channel as always. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the rest of your night.
Likewise.